get it.
But you see how much kidnappers are taking from victims.
My thing is, government should, I think all the stakeholders should get that, and I think we get that. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
But the support that is needed. And once you get the support, your energy will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Inside Nigeria, reaching you on Leadership Television. It's Monday morning, and it's my pleasure to be your host and your guide this day. My name is Winifred Ogwebo, and with me in the studio is our public affairs analyst, Mr. Samaila Musa. Samaila Musa, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the program to discuss some major news headlines today. Thank you so much. So let's see what the papers, and before we see what the papers are saying, I want us to actually apologize for coming a bit behind schedule this Monday, just due to circumstances beyond our control. But notwithstanding, let's go on the right. Let's see what the papers are saying this Monday morning. And of course, we are flagging off with Nigeria's most influential leadership. Leadership has its headline, 19 days to convention. APC would collapse on my watch. PMB vows. 19 days to convention. APC would collapse on my watch. President Muhammadu Buhari vows. Says party will survive post-convention crisis. We are not opposing Buhari on consensus, says former Nasarawa State Governor Amakura. President won't subscribe to imposition. Senator Musa. This is on Leadership newspaper this morning. And incidentally, that is what other papers we are reviewing this morning are also saying. Let's see what this day is saying. This day, in dramatic move, Buhari orders Buni's removal as Malami SGF urge caution. In dramatic move, Buhari orders Buni's removal as Malami SGF urge caution. President says party has capacity to resolve challenges. Declares when I'm away, Osinbajo is in charge. Sani Bello is new caretaker chair. Holds maiden meeting today. Abdul Razak led committee to announce zoning formula. This is on This Day newspaper. From This Day, we also want to see what Nation is saying still on APC saga. The Nation. Okay. Samela, you've seen what Leadership and This Day are saying. Yes. It's on the issue of APC and it's a saga. We learned yesterday that the president, by fiat, removed Buni as caretaker committee chair for the party and replaced it with Sani Bello, his Niger State counterpart. Meanwhile, there are speculations that, not speculations actually, that the president does not have that right to remove. That's supposed to be done by NEC. So what do you say about that? Because Malami and SGF has already cautioned the president.
You see, we've always predicted these issues, and they keep unfolding by the day that, the leadership of the APC does not have the capacity or doesn't seem to display the capacity to handle the problems that actually within the party at this time. Ordinarily, you will expect that a ruling party who has a rallying point in the person of the president, everybody will want to toe the line of caution. But of course, it's actually not the fault of the members of the APC in total, in the sense that if the leader of the party seems to be unperturbed, or the body language seems to be that of I don't care, whatever happens. These are the kind of things you keep seeing. And unfortunately, is at this time that he's trying to take drastic measures. And I think Mr. President needs to be reminded that this is not military setup. It's actually a democracy. And we're talking about the upper echelon of the democracy itself, which is the party structure. things like imposition, things like pronouncements of dictatorship shouldn't be found around party structures. These are some of the things that keep bringing issues all the time. And I can tell you, this single pronouncement, if it's true, if it's actually true that the president made it, can actually sink the party. Because I can tell you, when these things get to court, litigations will never make APC to survive this thing. We saw what happened during Sharif and the PDP. We saw how long that case almost sank PDP in total. As a matter of fact, virtually everybody has believed that PDP is gone forever, until some persons within the party actually stood there, and rallied around in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave that judgment not simply because Ali Modu Sharif was not actually winning that case. The reason why the Supreme Court, what the Supreme Court considers is that the larger interest of all, that the country seems to not have any opposition at this particular time. You understand? That it will not augur well to now single-handedly hand over that judgment to a single individual at the expense of the structure of the party. So at that time, the nation need an opposition party. You understand? That was simply the discretion the Supreme Court displayed, and not simply because Ali Modu Sharif was not winning. So the president cannot. This cannot stand the test of time. It cannot stand in the law court that a president will just pronounce the removal or pronounce the installment of another person in the place of that. These are the things he ought to have done ab initio, or from when people started crying out. He will have democratically showed his position. The rest of the party, we know what happens in Nigeria. Once the state governor says this is what he wants within the party in the states, that's what happens. So once the president says this is what he wants within the party structure in Nigeria, in his own party, that's what happens. So he should have told that line long ago before now, and the rest of them people will have dropped their ambition in some cases to say, well, since the president shows interest in this, then no problem. People will have said, okay, let's negotiate this or that. But at this kind of time is not the time for this kind of pronouncement to start coming, rather than to call the parties, the warring factions, call them to order and try to negotiate with them. But this is not going to actually, especially when you have a situation where the president is actually an outgoing president. It's going to leave much problem for the party even after his exit from the system, and that's not going to be a good one for the ruling party.
Now, many people are saying that Buni's removal may not be unconnected with the fact that most governors are not in support of his consensus. Adamu, Abdullahi Adamu.
Well, you see, they keep this. We keep getting conflicting.
Creating more issues.
We keep getting conflicting reports, and there was a time, I know, because it was zoned to the North Central, the chairmanship. So we learned that the APC governors in the North Central went to Nasarawa State,
yes,
to go and have a discussion with the governor before proceeding to talk to the preferred candidate, who was Alimakura, But then we heard from from some accounts that, in fact, it was in the news, that when they got there, the sitting governor of Nasarawa State actually displayed his own reservations in terms of Al-Makura. Maybe he has his own permutations to say that, well, he is in support of the president. The president actually showed interest in ab initio, which was Abdullahi Adamu, and that's his own preferred candidate as well. So there was some trade in at that time, to say, okay, well, since that's what the state governor of Nasarawa State, that is where we have zoned the chairmanship to within the North Central, because there's micro zoning, so they gave it to the governor to say, well, if this is your preferred candidate, I think that's the direction we are also towing. But now we're hearing that, it's no longer Abdullahi Adamu that is the preferred candidate, and the Buhari has actually announced Sani Bello. Well, we really can't tell what exactly.
That is just what I wanted to say now in Interjet. There's a news now that signed by the APC caretaker, the secretary, that we should discountenance the news that is fake.
Okay.
That there was no such thing, no removal of Buni as a caretaker committee. Okay,
so in politics, most of these kind of things happen. It's part of the gimmicks politicians pull. Some of the stunts they pull to, make some
I just
pronouncements.
received it now.
You understand? Yeah, they just make some pronouncements so that people will begin to, it's about perception management actually, because this will resonate, vibrate, the vibration will be all over the place to say, oh, the president has actually done this, the president, whereas it's not true. So just like we're hearing, and just like I mentioned earlier, that if this pronouncement is true, and which we're just hearing now that it's not. So I think that's a good one.
Now, 19 days, let's look at leadership newspaper. Once again, it says APC won't collapse on my watch. PNB vows. Do you believe the president, who is also incidentally the number one party member?
Well, you see, it's not just to keep saying some of these things. It's about showing it. Your attitude needs to, your character needs to show this is what your body language speaks louder than what you are even saying with your mouth. If he says it won't collapse, he hasn't been seen taking the steps that will make it collapse under his watch.
Yes.
Because what we keep saying, for how many times have they shifted the convention dates now? So when you say it won't collapse, we are saying that it will collapse with this attitude. So stop. Your body language is saying it will collapse, but you are the ones just saying it now that it won't collapse. Well, you are not taking any measure that will really put the line or the members of that party in tandem or in tune with this, what you have just pronounced now. Politics is not just about making pronouncements. It's about, caucus meetings. In politics, caucus is allowed. I mean, maneuverings are allowed in politics to a large extent, in the sense that, you try to alliances, you negotiate with this one, you negotiate with that, you trade in this for that, and if he's not willing to sit down with them, there's no how the party won't collapse. I've not heard, apart from that day when he met with the governors, I've not heard where the president is actually meeting with the party leadership, meeting with SCOSO caucus and that caucus. If the president feels perhaps maybe too big to start whining and dining with politicians, it means he's not ready for politics. And for the past 7 years, that is what he has displayed. It is late now. A lot of them in the party knows that he is not a politician and he has not shown any interest in politics. And that is why, if at this time that he's outgoing, it will be difficult for him to rein them in. Because a lot of them will say, look, my ambition as a politician has never depended on you. There was no time you helped me to influence anything. And in politics, loyalty is about what the person who is trying to, who wants you to be loyal is offering you. If my career or my political ambition has nothing to do with you as a sitting president, it is not now that you are leaving that you are going to contribute anything to that ambition. So really, I see no reason why I should listen to you. And that is what is going to happen in the long run, except if drastic measures are actually in place to put the party in the line of peace.
That's exactly what I want to ask. When his PNB vows that his APC will not collapse under his watch, has he actually put some structures in place to ensure that it doesn't collapse under his watch, and even after he's gone?
The structures are even tall orders. You see, personally, we have seen presidents in this country that have shown interest in what happens in the party. They show interest in how the party is being run. They show interest in individuals, some personalities in the party, who they prioritize to say, well, these are the pillars of the party. This is what I'm going to do with this or that. He has not shown any interest. I've not seen where the president was actually having a dinner with some party stalwarts at any point. So it's not now. You should have been doing this way before now, where politicians will tell you, because you see, anybody who you see in politics have his own interest.
What do you think why is there apathy on his part towards APC?
See, the president does not know how to go about politicking. He has never been a politician. What he was used to is dictatorship, which is what happens in the military. It's about the last you obey the order that is being given. I think his managers have not been able to succeed in trying to let him understand that, look, in politics, as a matter of fact, sometimes you call your enemies to dine with them, just simply because you want to conquer them. So he hasn't been able to actually succeed in that area, or his managers have not succeeded on him in that area to know part time, you need to even call some party stalwarts, perhaps from a particular region, to say the dinner with the president, have some interactions with them if you are actually interested in who succeed you. And up till this time, Buhari has not displayed any interest in who comes after him. We only heard it by pronouncement on leadership on Channels TV's interview, where he says he has a preferred candidate and he's not letting anybody know so that they won't kill him. That it cannot be true as far as a lot of us are concerned. Nobody is going to kill anybody because the president prefers us to president. I don't believe in that. We have so many people whose interests, who are interested today, who have even they are likely to be the next president. Nobody has attempted their lives. Do you get what I'm saying? So, but the earlier the better. Some people are going to drop their ambition if they know that the sitting president has his own preferred candidates. By that you're going to save the party a lot of crises. You don't have to allow some people to start wasting their money, because they will get to a time they'll tell you they are not going to back down for anybody. Because if you had wanted them to back down, you should have done this long ago. They consulted you when they wanted to go into the race. You said they should go ahead. Then you go back and say, no, you have a preferred candidate. It's not done like that anywhere in the world.
Or was he just waving a red herring to Nigerians?
Well, if he's waving that red herring, you should know that at this particular time, it's time to, he can confide in his own people, the people he feels or felt, no, you shouldn't be spending your money on this because I'm not ready. You understand? This is the person I want us to support. He can even try to
just like he brought in Adamu.
You understand? At minute. So many people will drop their ambitions because they felt, no, I shouldn't be in a tussle with the president. But if once you allow them get to a particular stage where they feel, no, this is a slight. I'm not going to take this from anybody, not even the president. Because if I had consulted you before I get into this race, and you gave me your blessings that I can go ahead, you don't go back now and reverse and say, no, it's not going to be like that anymore. No, let everybody go into the race.
And if you recall, after his Channels interview, when he made that remark, one presidential aspirant the next day went to see him in the villa and said, look, Mr. President, I am interested.
Yes.
I came to let you know that I'm interested.
I'm interested. And he didn't tell him not to. Yes. As a matter of fact, the president, he gave him his blessings, and the president came out and said, yeah, I've consulted with the president and he said I should go ahead. You see, so these are some of the things that will create serious crisis in the party. You know, when you allow people to begin to roll out their millions or their billions, and you know they are not your candidates, and you are the one who gave them go ahead in the long run, it's going to create serious problem. We have seen this happen before, and it could happen again.
Now, let's see what THISDAY is saying, still on APC issue this Monday. He said, in dramatic move, Buhari orders Buni's removal as Malami SGF or caution. Although the press releases say we should discontinue it, that is not true. But is there smoke without fire?
Yeah, you know, the moment I heard that he was jetting out to go to London, I just felt, I mean, this is just a typical Mr. President. Sometimes once the heat is getting much, he just excuse himself out of the kitchen. You will expect that the president, knowing that he has a trip, a London trip of about 3 weeks or thereabout, he will want to put everything in order before he goes. But here he just used that excuse and he decides to dodge, and he says the country is in capable hands. So he's going to heap it on the laps of the VP, you know, who eventually is going to make one move, and the cabal, or the so-called cabal, or the perceived cabal, we say it's another blunder on the part of the VP, and this is unforgivable, you know. But the president will have just done the needful. He is the most respected member of the party. He's the number one card-carrying member of the party as we speak. He's the leader of the party. He will have just stayed a little while. This issue is not a rocket science. It does not take 24 hours to resolve this matter. Once he put his foot on the ground to say, look, you, what is your interest? You, what is your interest? We can carry everybody. Let's harness these issues. But this is my preferred candidate, and I want you to support him. Let me know your own interest. We're going to protect your interest. That's what politics is all about. It's not about once you see the heat is getting much, you excuse yourself, you jet away from the scene, and then you come back. Look, these problems, you're probably just going to be shifting evil days. But I can bet you by the time this whole thing is going to explode in the face of APC, it will be going to be too late at that time.
That is where my next question is leading to. 19 days to APC convention.
Yeah.
I will still have warring factions in the party. So what are your permutations for the convention?
They're going to go into the convention in the long run, but with so much anger, so many people are going to just bottle their grievances until after the convention. So many people are going to be going into the convention damaged, and they're going to say, well, the way to retaliate, the way to avenge this thing is to be a part of them until that minute when I will show my color. Because if I do that now, it might not have the desired impact. So the damage the party is trying to cause me or that has caused me, I'm going to retaliate, and I'm going to wait until the appropriate time. So that is what you're going to have in that convention. But I tell you, the atmosphere is going to be very tense.
Yes, it's going to be very tense. Well, we have a situation whereby even the presidential aspirants of the party will also want to have their candidates in place.
Yes.
So how?
That's why I tell you, they're going to manage it one way or the other, not simply because they want to manage it. There is a timeline for all this. Now we can see that by somewhere in July, every party must have submitted its candidates to INEC. So they are under pressure to whatever it takes to go into this convention so that they can begin to talk about the primary election, because there is no time. You have 3 months now to do all of this. So, but like I tell you, so many people will go there, but will decide to say, okay, since this is what the president wants, no problem. I know the time to retaliate. So they're going to do that in the space of this 3 months. So much is going to happen. So much damage is going to happen within the party by some persons who are going into that convention aggrieved. And that they'll feel, okay, no problem. But I tell you, the convention ground is going to be very tense. There's going to be very, there's going to be a high degree of anger. That eventually you will feel the smoke coming out of the convention ground, but everybody is going to manage themselves or comport themselves to say, no problem. Few days after that convention, then you see what's going to start happening. But so many people will still go with the hope that this plan B is going to succeed.
The primaries is also going to be the same intense activity, considering what happened during state congresses?
Immediately after the primaries is when the damage will be done. Some will display theirs during the primaries, but some will wait till after the primaries. So many people will pull out with their own people. They feel
we're going to see more litigation.
More litigation. So much is going to happen. Even with this chairmanship, even after the convention, you don't expect that the last is going to be heard. You won't hear anything about that anymore. So many litigations can still come up even on this party.
Now, considering the damage control, the Secretary Ethical Committee, Mr. John is trying to do, don't you think that is just afterthought?
Well, you see,
because before he jetted that, he replaced Buni with his Niger State counterpart. Now they are issuing press release that no, nothing of the sort.
Whether it's fake news or not, is that there are insinuations from the day he said this is what he wants about Abdullahi Adamu.
Yes.
2 days after the Almakura and Sani Bello came out to say they did not agree with that.
Yes.
Now, about 2 days ago, they still issued statements to say it's not like they are fighting the president, but they know the president will not allow impositions. They know some party members who are trying to impose that on the president to say that's the only option the party has to avoid crisis. And that is not going to happen because that's not true. So politicians will come up with different antiques, but I tell you, quite a lot of them have their plan A and B. In fact, some people will have plan C.
Yes.
If I push this, it doesn't work, I go through this. If this is not working, then I go. But some people's plan C is going to be to exit the party in the long run.
Yes.
Some of them are already ganging up now. Some of them are already looking at the alternative party they're going to go to, So there's going to be so much horse trading and stuff, but a lot of drama within the next 3 months, actually.
Still on APC issue, let's see what Nation is also saying before we go on break. The Nation newspaper. APC zoning panel submits report amid disagreement. APC zoning panel submits report amid disagreement. Leaders split over key NWC positions. Buhari, we will overcome crisis. Still the same issue on APC
it's
in
still,
most of the papers this morning.
mm.
Well, viewers, let's go on the break. When we come back, we'll be discussing business, and that is on our sister publication, The National Economy. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back. This is Inside Nigeria on Leadership Television. And with me in the studio is Samaila Musa. Samaila Musa is a public affairs analyst. Samaila, it's always a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you.
And I remain doing for the program. Let's see what national economy is saying this morning, talking about business. Federal government's 5-year target of 1.4 domestic refining capacity unrealistic. Federal government's 5-year target of 1.4 domestic refining capacity unrealistic, say experts. Yes, that is national economy. Samala, why do you think federal government is finding it difficult to refine petroleum locally?
What is more appalling is the fact that we have a sitting president who doubles as the Minister of Petroleum,
Yes.
who his years of experience in the petroleum industry actually surpasses virtually every other person, even in the industry. Even people that are in NNPC, I don't think anybody has Buhari's experience, because it's been within that system for a very long time, and with the experiences he's garnered over the years, in the area of petroleum industry, one will expect that these are the credentials he brought on board to actually even made himself the substantive Minister of Petroleum. But unfortunately, nothing or nothing substantial has actually been achieved in that regard. I thought that someone of Buhari's pedigree and disposition, that the first thing someone like him will target is how our comatose refineries will start working. But unfortunately,
that was part of his manifesto.
That was part of his manifesto. But unfortunately, after 7 years, there was no time, monies in billions were not going into the right refinery, turnaround maintenance and all of that. And yet, shamefully, this administration will complete 8 years in a few months' time. And yet, we're not even talking about what we are here discussing is even actually how that there'll be availability of petrol. That's what we're even struggling with for the past how many weeks now.
Almost a month now.
You understand? Scarcity has been going on all over the place. And you see, one of the things that I also found very, very disturbing is the fact that some persons deliberately imported bad fuel into the country. And that is going to go Nigeria about 200 billion naira to refine that product. And nobody has been brought to book under a President Buhari's administration. Isn't this sad to note that we're having this kind of issues? Because this is a domain, this is a territory where he knows better than all others. Not others, maybe you can want to create excuse for him to say, oh, it's because the president does not have an idea of what is going on in that place. He is the Minister of Petroleum. Nobody has been brought to book. Nigeria, taxpayers' money, 200 billion will now go to redefine that product, and nobody has been brought to book. In fact, nobody's even talking about them any longer. That's how sad the situation is. And then
even the queue in the filling station.
yeah,
Stress Nigerians are
going through.
Nobody is even talking about it.
You understand? People already getting tired. There's no light.
No light.
The heat is actually much. Then you now want to go and start queuing for petrol. And then to make matters worse, I think maybe because DPR was scrapped, or I don't know what they are making of DPR, but I think and in the interim, there should have been a body or a task force that will have been going through the filling stations to know what is happening. In some cases, they don't want to sell. In some cases, even when they are selling, the queue at the entrance is the same with the queue at the exit.
Yes.
No any form of regulations, and I know Nigerians can endure. If the queue will move, people will have that patience to say, well, if it's moving, we want to queue. But in a situation where you're on the queue, and then for 2-3 hours, it's only people who are at the end, the exit, who are allowed to enter because they are paying something else to allow them enter, or who knows who is the one that his car goes in there, is another challenge. All these are areas the government needs to look into, because these are areas you can actually say, oh, in the face of these things, how do we try to reduce the hardship that people are going through? You understand? Because you can imagine somebody in that hot sun will be in the queue for 5 hours, and still at the end of the day, they tell you, oh, they say no more fuel. And whereas the fuel is there, no, they are not selling. It's unfortunate. But on this federal government's 5-year target, it's Nigeria will continue to be a joke until we have serious people who are at the helm of affairs. You're talking about this target of 1.4 million domestic refining capacity. You have not done anything tangible. Look, let it even work first. Do you understand? You don't even need to raise the bar. Maintain the former one and let this thing start working first, and then you say, okay, now that we know this is what we have been able to achieve, we want to increase this. But something that is not working, we just feel these are just balderdash all the time. People are getting tired of getting fed with. These things are not working, and it's too. I think the time is too short for this government to start talking about any tangible effort in that regard. Honestly, because if you had 8 years to do this and few months to go, is the time you really want to.
Yes.
You understand?
Now,
it really it's not something
you,
really.
You mentioned something, Samaila, that every year, billions of naira keep
going into that.
Keep into maintenance of petroleum refineries. Is it that federal government is not monitoring the money to ensure that it's actually utilized for that purpose?
You see, there is a cartel.
So how come every year we keep budgeting huge sums of money?
It's one of the major problem. It's one of the major problem that I thought Mr. President was coming in to come and break that cartel. There's a huge cartel within the petroleum industry.
Bigger than the president?
It's not bigger than the president, but it's unfortunate if the president seems not to know what to do with them. Except he is also a beneficiary of the system. Because you see, sometimes it's only the people you see manning positions there that you see that a lot of interest there. In fact, there are some politicians that they tell you that, don't worry, this area is mine. Just leave NNPC for me. This one will say leave CBN for me, and all of that. We saw in this country where the CBN governor was going to go and give a report to one of the cabal at the time. He's late now. Who the picture was all over in the social media where he was bending down to talk to one of the cabal. This was someone who was not holding any position in government, but the CBN governor will have to meet him at home to go and give reports of what is happening to him. These are the kind of things you see. Even in NNPC, there are people who are holding NNPC by the jugular. There are people in this country who are holding the petroleum industry by the jugular. It's what they want that happens. But the president knows all these things because it's an area that he has vast experience, vast knowledge of. He knows these things, but he seems to be helpless because he does not have the willingness. He had the willingness before he became president, but when he became the president, he dropped all that, and maybe for whatever reason, there is no excuse that anybody can create for him, because that was one of the reasons why Nigerians actually voted for him, to say, well, now it's time for the masses to begin to enjoy what these people are holding, but unfortunately, he's leaving in a few months' time, and this is the situation. It's even worse than the way he met it. And that's
So
unfortunate.
what is the way forward in our refineries?
The way forward is
In our
for
petroleum industry.
the way forward is for them to start looking at what looks more realistic. The realistic thing is to even say, let's have a timeline, a mandate to say these things refineries must work. Those billions that are the refineries have been gulping, even though they remain comatose, there should be some accountability. You understand? You see, there's something about accountability. If in this office, for instance, everybody knows that even if I'm 10 minutes late or 20 minutes late, things are going to wait for me. They will come late. But when people know that nothing is going to wait and they really want to take the shine for it, they will make sure that they do it. So it's the same thing about in these industries. If nobody has been brought to book, nothing is going to happen. Nobody has in the past, nobody has been brought to book. In this time, your own reign, nobody was ever called to come and account for anything. You understand that there are sanctions. This is the way things will continue to be, because fortunately or unfortunately, the people who are actually benefiting from the system are not alone. These things spread around, and I can tell you, in some of the cases, they tell you that even the families of the leadership or the president cannot be exonerated when the can of worms is being poured out. So really, it's actually unfortunate. Yes.
Now, I want to take you back again on the issue of bad fear that was imported to the country. Is it that there are no checks and balances in place to ensure that
I told you,
have good
it's a deliberate action. It's deliberate in the sense that with all the Q&Q,
and you also
is what they
account
call
for the
them,
huge subsidy they were paying, since
there are people who are collecting huge amount of money just to test the quality of the products that are coming into the country. And I'm talking about millions of dollars. In that petroleum industry, every payment, none is being done in Naira. It's a huge amount in dollars that is going into just to check the quality and the quantity of products that are coming into the shores of Nigeria. And yet, that contaminated fuel made its way into the country because some persons' palms have been greased.
Oh, they turned the other way.
Yeah, so they decided to turn the other way because their palms were greased. And then, because they know they have enough money to actually buy whoever that wants to say anything. And that is what is actually playing out. Nobody has been, have anybody mentioned anybody's name?
No.
That issue is going to be swept under the carpet. Then you now take, not that you ask the people who imported the product to go and make sure that they rectify the problem. No, you are not going to take 200 billion of taxpayers' money to clean up the mess some people collected money to actually bring on this nation. It's quite unfortunate if we keep living like this. We're never going to be taken serious by anyone.
Thank you so much, Samela. And with that, we come to today's program, Inside Nigeria, on Leadership Television, where we discuss major headline news stories on some selected newspapers. That is where we draw the curtain on today's program. Don't forget, tomorrow is another day. Samela, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you. My
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
Yeah.
And I remain Winifred. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.